Hello, darkness, my old friend. Did I say darkness? What I meant to say was nephritic and nephrotic syndromes. Here is a super quick overview and study help for you guys out there trying to wrap your head around these kidney problems. Take a screenshot, print it out, buy a sticker if you want. Learn how to do that in the description. There is also a plain version if you want. Put it in your notes and add more on the outside, like this, for example. What we are talking about today is nephrotic versus nephritic syndromes. What separates these generally can be found on these outer circles. Nephrotic has to do with damage to the filtration barrier, which leads to loss of proteins. This can cause edema, activation of the RAAS system, and hyperlipidemia from the liver trying to compensate by producing more proteins. Loss of antithrombin 3 can lead to hypercoagulable states. An example is renal artery thrombosis, which is most commonly associated with membranous glomerulonephritis. Key factors here are domes and spikes on electron microscopy. Minimal change disease is the most common nephropathy in kids. It has to do with podocyte effacement on the basement membrane. Diabetic glomerulonephropathy is a complication of diabetes. Shocker. Some points we see here are the GFR changes from hyperfiltration in the early years, then reducing over the years as it progresses. Another finding is Kimmel-Steele-Wilson nodules. Amyloidosis is all about misfolded proteins, and some keywords here are Congo red stain that has apple green birefringence under polarized light. Focal segmental glomerulosclerosis is usually secondary to other infections or diseases, cough, HIV, and has segmental areas of hyaline deposits in the glomerulus. Diffuse proliferative glomerulonephritis can present with symptoms of nephritic and nephrotic syndromes, and like a lot of nephritic syndromes, has antibodies involved. Look for wire looping from an increase in the number of cells around the glomerulus. Nephritic syndromes have to do with inflammation in the kidney. Low urine output with blood and protein are some big indicators. Acute interstitial nephritis is not the same as acute interstitial necrosis. It is actually toxic or ischemic injury to the kidney, leading to muddy brown cast. Keywords, big thing right there. Acute interstitial nephritis is inflammation, usually from a sort of medication or infection that presents as oliguria, fever, and maculopapular rash. Post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, you guessed it, after a strep infection. You get some antibody deposition in the glomerulus, triggering some inflammation. Look out for edema, especially around the eyes and the limbs. IgA nephropathy is more antibody deposition. IgA specifically, imagine that, usually after an upper respiratory tract or even a GI infection. It's very closely related to IgA vasculitis, which has GI problems, palpable rash, and migratory arthralgias. Here we have a group called rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. And this is where all those ONCA antibodies start coming in. Good pastures is autoantibodies against the glomerulus and alveolar basement membranes, which means you can have lung problems along with nephritis. It characteristically has a linear look on immunofluorescence. Granulomatosis with polyangiitis, aka Wegener's, is inflammation of blood vessels. PR3-ONCA and C-ONCA are antibodies involved. You have all sorts of extrarenal problems, ulcers, ear, sinus infections, saddle nose, etc., etc., etc. Microscopic Polyangiitis is inflammation of capillaries, very tiny blood vessels. MPO-ONCA, P-ONCA are big culprit antibodies here. Last one here, we have Alport syndrome. Type 4 collagen mutation, basement membrane and the lens of the eye, basket weave pattern on electric microscopy, and you'll probably hear the mnemonic, can't see, can't pee, can't hear a bee, referencing to the things that are affected. Well guys, that was a blazing overview. Hopefully it will give you a good base to start studying. They can be difficult to get your head around, and just organizing the information is always a great place to start. Subscribe if you want. If you have any comments or corrections, let me know. We'll all learn together. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.